The difference between an emotional attachment and an emotional imprint. This is the topic for today's video. Now, to break this down, I'm going to give you a definition of an emotional attachment, then I'm going to give you an example from my life, then I'm going to break down what is an emotional imprint, also give you an example from my life, and a few other examples to explain the whole thing, and that's it. You will know the differences between both of them. So with that said, let's get right into it. What is an emotional attachment? An emotional attachment refers to the feelings of closeness and affection that help sustain meaningful relationships over time. Simply feeling close to someone helps you bond and increase your sense of connection. You can develop and build an emotional attachment with anyone if you simply spend enough time in close proximity. You'll naturally develop emotional attraction. That will happen every single time. Guys, pay close attention. Whether a woman is good for you or not, if you ignore red flags and you go ahead and spend time with her, eventually you will start to overlook them because now your emotional attraction will start to rise. And that attachment will start to take place within you to where now you're leading with your lust. You start to develop a little bit of limerence. You're into her. You like the way she makes you feel. And next thing you know, you're involved with a woman that can do you harm. So you want to be mindful of this. The only way to build an emotional attachment is by spending time with someone. Now, I'm going to share an experience from my life in which I got involved with a girl that I really shouldn't have. But hey, I built the emotional attachment because I spent enough time around her. Let me explain. This goes way back before university. This was when I was finishing school, in my senior years. So the final year started and I really wanted to get good grades. You know, I've always been the person to struggle at school. That's just not the way I learn. I'm independent. I never liked being in school. It was not my type of environment. I always liked to learn independently and, study by myself, educate myself. I didn't like school at all. And I realized if I really want to pass and get good grades, it's now or never. So I really started to work hard. I really focused up and I didn't want to have any time for girls. It was just putting myself first and getting it done. And when that year started, a new girl came to school. This Belgian chick, blonde, blue eyes, tall, beautiful. And when I would see her in the corridor during break time, she was always checking me out. And I could tell right away she really liked me. She kept looking over, she kept blushing, smiling, giving me all the choosing signals and physical cues that you're into yours truly. Now, I had a few people tell me, hey, she likes you. I'm not going to say her name, but let's call her Jessica. I had a few people come up to me, hey man, Jessica's really into you. She really wants you to go up and say hi to her. Me, I wasn't into her. You might be thinking, well, you just said she's very beautiful. Yeah, she was. I just wasn't into getting into a relationship or dating. As I said, I was focused on school. I didn't want to have any distractions. So I kind of brushed it off. Yeah, I can see it. I can see she's into me. I don't care for it right now. So after a couple of weeks, one of my friends ended up giving my number to her without me knowing. So I get a text message from her. She tells me who she is. Hi, it's me. Look, I'm sure you've seen that I've been checking you out. I just want to say I really like you and I'd like to get to know you. Are you dating anyone? I was like, no, I'm not. I'm single. I'm focused on school. I'm not interested in seeing anyone. And I was pretty direct with her. Now, for the guys that know anything about women, they're like a man who is a challenge. Because when she's beautiful, she can get any guy. Just like that. And when she sees a man that she wants and he isn't giving her his attention freely, I'm not giving out my validation, I'm not chasing after her, I'm not pursuing her, that will intrigue her and impress her even more. Because I'm not even faking it. It was genuine. I was focused on my life back then to where I didn't want to date anyone. And since she had all these other guys at school that were into her, but the only one she wanted was me, and I wasn't giving her that attention, that made her into me even more. That raised her interest even more. She saw me as even more valuable. So she started to chase me, she started to pursue me. And here's the kicker. Remember, if you spend enough time around someone in close proximity, you build the emotional attachment. Even though I had made it clear that I wasn't looking for anything, I'm focused on school, what happened? We started talking, she started being feminine and sweet, right? And I started to feel comfortable, started to get close with her. And eventually my barriers were broken down to where now I was interested in her. Even though I found her attractive physically, I just wanted to be alone. I didn't want those distractions. I didn't want to screw up at the end of school. I wanted to pass, and I wanted to pass well. So she's kept pursuing me, kept chasing after me, and what happens? That kind of strokes your ego. It feels good when the hottest chick in school is the one who's giving you the attention and she wants you. That's a very good feeling. That can really boost your self-esteem as a man. Especially as a young guy, as a teenager back then, that feels very good. So after 3 to 4 months of me basically friend-zoning her, she asked me out for a coffee. And I accepted. This time I said, fine, you know what? Because she'd asked me before a few times to hang out. I kept saying no. As she broke down my barriers, as I started to become attached to her and I got comfortable with her, I said, fine, screw it. I'll go out with you. Yeah, sure. Went out for coffee. That was it. We made out. She bought me a present. I remember she got me like a necklace with like a bracelet with my name on it. Something small like that. So she was basically really trying to impress me. Anyway, a week after that, I asked her out on a date. We started dating. Another month in, she asked me to be in an exclusive relationship. And we were in a relationship for 3 to 4 months. It was a very small relationship. Here's what happened. I never wanted that to begin with. I just wanted to get my exams done. I did not want to be distracted by a woman. But what happened? She started to distract me because all of that time I spent with her, I became emotionally attached. And I overlooked the red flags. You see, she had all these male friends. Even though all these different guys wanted her and she would always tell me about it, she stopped doing that. She started hiding her phone. She'd hang out with me and she would delete all of her chats, which I found very strange. And she would allow guys to get extremely close to her at school. Even I could see. When I would tell her about it, she'd say that I was being jealous. What happened? Towards the end, she wanted a break, she wanted space. Hey, I don't think we should be together anymore. Okay, I walked away. I didn't beg, I didn't plead, I was just done. Because the fact that she was getting too close with other men, I felt disrespected deep down. Anyway, why am I telling you this? Because it wasn't my intention. I didn't want to be in a relationship. I didn't even want to date. I wanted to get my exams done and focus on my life. But what happened? I allowed myself to start texting her, start talking to her at school, start to build the emotional attachment. I do not care how strong you are, I do not care how confident you are or how busy you are. If you spend enough time around a woman, whether she's good for you or not, you will develop an emotional attachment, whether you like it or not. And that is what happened to me. And she ended up leaving. I found out she went behind my back with a guy in her class. And this guy was like, he was like simping for her extra hard. But because she was actually a very insecure girl, she liked all of the attention. I haven't heard from her for many years, but from what I've been told, she's been with a different guy every few months. Right, so she's collecting men like they're artifacts. What does that say about her? She became very promiscuous. She became damaged goods, which is a shame. But guess what? I felt like I dodged a bullet. And when I first met her, yeah, she was very pretty. She was very beautiful. And a big part of me wanting to be with her simply because it boosted my ego. Because every other guy wanted her, and she only wanted me. That was a very good feeling indeed. And she was very attractive. Sure, she was pretty much arm candy. But we weren't compatible. I was a Christian, she was an atheist. We didn't have the same core values. So you don't even need that to be attached to someone. You see, as long as there's a minimum level of physical attraction, although in this case we were both very physically attracted to each other, we both developed an emotional attachment. And as she started to get close to all these guy friends, and I'd react to that, she'd accuse me of getting jealous, insecure, she'd get turned off, she'd pull back. And since she didn't have any morals, what did she do? She went behind my back and ended the relationship. And that was that. And I do feel like I dodged a bullet. And that's what she's been doing since then, guy after guy. Just like that. Just like that. So be very careful who you give your time to. If you go on a date, guys, and something seems off, you ask the woman some questions about her background, about her life, and you start to see, I'm not compatible with her. She doesn't seem like relationship material. Don't do it. Do not lead with your lust. Because before she started talking to me, I was pretty confident, I was pretty strong. I didn't want to approach her, I didn't want to talk to her because I didn't want to risk getting distracted by a woman. And that's exactly what happened to me. Once she kind of broke down my barriers and we started talking, we spent time together, I just developed the emotional attachment. And once you do that, you're not thinking with your logic and reason as a man. You're leading with your emotions, with your feelings. And your heart can be deceitful above all things, because emotions come and go, they go up and down, they fluctuate, they change. And that was my mistake, and I got involved with her. Luckily, it didn't last too long. I was able to recover shortly after that and finish school, get good grades, thank goodness. But it taught me that very important lesson. Be very careful who you give your time to, or you will become emotionally attached, whether you like it or not. Okay? And understand there has to be a minimum level of attraction to develop an emotional attachment in the first place. Right? And realistically, I settled for her. Right? Because even though she was physically attractive, once I got to know her, I could see we're not compatible. And then the whole thing with her guy friends, it kind of turned me off even more, but it made me needy and insecure because I was feeling disrespected. So she wasn't really what I wanted as well. Okay, so you have to look at that as well. Was she into me for me? Well, she liked me on a physical level, but compatibility-wise, we didn't have the same things. She knew that too. That's why you date. You get to know someone. If you can't connect on a deeper level, it's not going to go further than an emotional attachment. It will never reach an emotional imprint. It will just stay as an attachment. So understand that's how an emotional attachment works. There is no way around it. If you spend enough time around somebody that you like, whether it's you like them a lot or a little bit, that's going to get watered like a plant and it will start to grow. And your emotional attraction is going to increase. And next thing you know, you're in your feelings. You're emotionally invested. Your judgment is clouded. You may overlook red flags. You're in limerence. You want to be very careful. But that is emotional attachment. Now we're going to get into an emotional imprint. So an emotional imprint refers to any kind of impression or influence. This applies to certain events that impact you or to people who add value or affect your life in specific ways, and that can be good or bad. You can imprint and also leave imprints, or imprints leave a mark, okay? So I want to give you first a base example of an imprint in regards to an event, an emotional event, and then we'll get back into relationships. If I tell you to comment down below what you had for lunch on Wednesday 2 weeks ago. You won't be able to remember that. Why? Because what you had for lunch on Wednesday 2 weeks ago didn't impact your life enough for your brain to store it as a memory. Do you understand that? Now, if I tell you, can you recall what you were doing when 9/11 happened? Where you were sitting, where you were standing, who you were with, who was the first person that you called to let them know what you just saw on TV? You will be able to tell me your emotions, what you were feeling, anger, rage, sadness. In fact, if you close your eyes, you will probably be able to play back that entire morning with no memory loss. Why? Because emotional intensity and memory go hand in hand. That event impacted you, left an imprint. Therefore, your brain stores it as a memory. And 20 years from now, 30 years from now, if somebody asks you, what were you doing that morning? You will still be able to tell them. You will always remember that. See, that is just an example, just for you to see what an imprint can do to you. It will impact you. Back to relationships. Now, as I mentioned earlier, an emotional attachment is a prerequisite to an emotional imprint. You see, a woman, first of all, has to develop an emotional attachment. She needs to develop those feelings of closeness. She needs to bond with you. She needs to feel safe and comfortable. Once she's attached with you, as long as there's chemistry, as long as there's compatibility, and she's with you for you, she really likes you, she's not using you, okay, she's a feminine woman, she has got good morals, then you actually can leave a positive impact on her. Providing you embody masculine qualities, you know how to lead the relationship, you're fun, you have that charisma, you have that charm, you've got that swagger about you. The way you stand up for yourself, the way you talk, you're interesting to her. You're this fun guy. You take her to places she's never been. You experience things with her that she's never experienced with other guys. And if she feels like you're the best man she's had and the best man she'll ever get, then you will leave a positive impact on her life. That is how you imprint a woman. You can't imprint a woman if you're a 6 in her eyes. The farthest you will go is getting her emotionally attached to you, but she will feel like she's settling. She will never want to be intimate or passionate with you. If you get involved with women that settle for you, women that are narcissistic, abusers, they're just using you for your resources, they're not going to have that emotional intensity to where you will leave a positive imprint on their life. You will never be able to raise it to that point, and I want you to understand that. So success and money does not build an imprint. Spending 5 years with a woman doesn't build an imprint. I'll repeat it again. If she sees you as a 6, she can spend 5 years with you, and all she will have is an attachment. She'll be used to you, she'll be comfortable with you, but she won't really be in love with you. Her emotions won't really come out. She won't be crazy for you. She won't really chase or pursue you because you're not it. I got an email a couple days ago, and this particular guy, he met this girl. She was crazy about him. She was into him. In his eyes, she was like a 6. He wasn't too attracted to her physically, but he spent 2 years with her. What happened? He developed an emotional attraction. It kind of stroked his ego that the girl was into him. So he eventually started dating and got into a relationship. He loved her, but he wasn't in love with her. And funnily enough, she kept telling him, I want you to be affectionate with me. You're not being intimate with me. Why don't you ever want to be sweet to me or romantic? You know why? Because he wasn't too attracted to her. Even though they had compatibility, she had the chemistry for him. He didn't have it for her. So she's looking at him like a 10, and he's looking at her like she's a 6. There's no substitute for that. There's no raw attraction. There's no genuine desire for him to raise that to where she would imprint him, to where he wants to do those things. But I guarantee you, if he was around a woman that was a 10 and they had the same values, man, yeah. And she's got the feminine qualities, and she really makes him feel like the man in the relationship, and he's never had that before. That would imprint him to her in a positive way. That is when you will both be imprinted by each other in a healthy way, which is what you both want. You also pair bond properly. But he didn't have that because he wasn't attracted to her enough in the first place. Never ever settle. So I really want you to understand that. If you think you can spend 5 years with that girl that you're trying to be friends with and trying to get her to like you, or you're trying to bribe her with money or your success, you will only ever have a transactional relationship. You will never have a woman that's imprinted by you, a woman that looks to you as the man she really wants. She'll never feel like you are her type. She'll never look at you and think, I've got the best that I will ever get. And that is what you want from a woman, and that is how you should feel about her. That is how you create passion in a relationship. If not, it ain't even worth it. Yeah, I needed to say that because a lot of you don't get that. Also understand, if she has been imprinted by another man before you and she hasn't overcome that, because remember, when it comes to an emotional imprint in relationships, you can be imprinted in a negative way or in a positive way. Let me explain. In a negative way means you get involved in an abusive relationship, you get involved with a narcissist, it's a toxic relationship, there's betrayal, you get cheated on, or due to all the abuse, you become trauma bonded. So she leaves an imprint on you, not an attachment, an imprint that is negative. You have bonded with her and associated your life with her in a painful, hurtful way. And if you do not heal from that emotional wound, that trauma that she's caused, what happens? Your outlook on relationships will always be damaged because as human beings, we use emotional imprints as a reference point to judge everything else. If you've been involved with a woman that abused you, took advantage of you, used you for your resources, cheated on you, and you don't heal from that, you have been negatively imprinted by her, which means you will always look at women and think they're all the same, coming at me with that crybaby MGTOW stuff. Until you take the time to heal consciously, understand the root cause of why she did that, and you separate the guilt and understand it's her fault, not yours, and then you don't learn how to live with it and move on, that imprint will stay, and that wound will get bigger and bigger, you'll become even more bitter. So if you get involved with a woman and she's not over the ex that was abusive to her or treated her like crap, and then she settles for you, understand, she'll be sleeping with you and she's thinking of him. Do not misunderstand the power of an emotional imprint, especially an unhealthy one, because we've got a lot of men and women running around that have unhealed trauma from relationships and childhood, and then they're unsuitable to get into a relationship. Be very careful. You don't heal your wounds, you'll bleed on everyone, not just yourself. And also, you can have positive imprints. When you have a great experience, if you have a happy childhood, you successfully pair bond with your parents, give you a healthy self-esteem, that gives you a more positive outlook on life, where you tend to see the goodness in other people. You develop empathy, compassion, care for others. You care about loyalty, integrity, good communication. Okay? So if you have good experiences, your outlook is going to be, well, there are good people out there. But what I really want you to understand, whether you're a man or a woman watching, that there are good ones and there are bad ones. It's being able to distinguish. Okay, that is what is important to understand. But ideally, you want to find a good woman and make sure you are both healed from your past traumas so that you can, and that you're with each other for the right reasons, chemistry, compatibility, genuine desire, so you can imprint and pair bond properly. Now, as I've mentioned, I just mentioned before, we use emotional imprints as reference points in our lives. Let me give you an example. I know two guys growing up that got attacked by dogs. Coincidentally, they both got bitten on their hand here. They didn't have really big scars or anything, but you could see the mark that it left. Now, I'm going to call the first guy Bobby. I'm going to keep his name private. So, Bobby got attacked by a dog when he was 5. To this day, he does not like dogs. Small dogs, big dogs, he does not feel safe around them. Because when that dog attacked him, it impacted him. It changed his outlook on dogs. The emotional intensity in that experience left a wound emotionally, which he didn't heal from. Even though physically there's a scar, that's an indication he's healed, mentally he hasn't. He does not like dogs, even to this day. On the other hand, the other guy, we're going to call him Jimmy, as I use that name a lot. Jimmy, he got bitten by a Rottweiler when he was 6. Luckily, his dad was there, and they went to the hospital. He's fine. Now, as a reference point, initially he was scared of dogs. Luckily, his father was a very intelligent man. And a few years later, I think, because I remember going over to his house back then, we were like 9, 11, his dad decided we should get a dog. So his parents bought a puppy, a Spanish water dog. Now, why did his father get it from a puppy? Because when you get a puppy, providing it doesn't have any, mental problems or innate aggression, generally speaking, you can train a dog, you can raise it. So the puppy starts, basically it's on factory reset. All right, it's up to the owners to raise the dog, to be obedient, loving, kind, right? So for his dad to help his son overcome his fear of dogs, he got him a puppy. And they would raise the dog, he would teach him to be responsible, care for it, and eventually he overcame his fear of dogs. And a few years later, I remember they got a second dog. And he absolutely loves dogs now, even though he had a very bad experience which left a negative imprint. But now he did the work consciously, hands-on. He faced his fears. That's it. He worked through it and he loves dogs now. So I want to understand, even though he had the reference point, dogs are scary, because he was young, and you can change, you can really work on a kid when they're young. His dad did the right thing, got him a puppy. He started learning how to properly bond with the puppy, train it. He builds an attachment with it. He sees that, okay, not all dogs are bad, not all dogs are evil. There are good dogs out there. Loves the dog. That gave him now a positive imprint and changed his outlook. So you can overcome an emotional imprint and make it good. So back to relationships. I'm going to give you another example from my life. And I haven't done many of these, but it's time I did. So, I have an ex we went out from 2017 through to 2018. Now, this taught me a lot about red flags, and I'm definitely going to do a video about that ex where I'm going to go into detail about everything I learned from that relationship. Now, this particular girl, I came to find out later on, because there were certain things that gave that away, that she was imprinted by the ex and she didn't overcome the imprint. Now, I'm going to tell you why it's so dangerous. When we started dating, she had just got out of a relationship with this particular guy. Now, she told me that this guy had cheated on her multiple times. That can leave a negative imprint. He would lie to her. He was abusive. And so basically she trauma bonded with him. And when we started dating, he did text her a few times, then she blocked him. But I'll never forget the things he said. He told her something along the lines of, even though we're not together, you will always be mine and we will meet again. And she just blocked him. And I always thought to myself, that is a very strange thing to say. Anyways, our relationship went on. A few times during the beginning, she would say she would call me by his name accidentally. She hadn't overcome it. She still had feelings for that guy. Now, oddly enough, this girl, she was really pushing hard. I'm talking within the first 6 months, we need to get married, we need to get married, we need to be together, I want to spend my life with you. She was into me physically, I was into her physically. She had a whole other set of issues, which again, I'll get into in a future video. However, the relationship didn't work out, and despite the fact that she wanted to marry me and spend her life with me, that all changed, obviously. She was not relationship material. She had too many problems. And I moved on. That was that. And one of my friends found out on Instagram last year that, because again, I don't follow my ex, I got rid of her from everything. I moved on, I healed. She got back together shortly after we had broken up, apparently. She had gotten back together with that ex. That guy who texted her saying that you will always be mine and that we will meet again. And that she ended up being with him. Funnily enough, that guy had given her, she had given her virginity to that guy. So he left a sexual imprint on her. He was the first. Not only was he her first, but that was a guy she really loved. That was a man she really cared about. Okay, you cannot compete with an emotional imprint. We were both emotionally attached to each other, but I couldn't leave an imprint on her because his was already in place. Do you understand that? The emotional intensity she had with him, she found him attractive. She'd given a purity to him, right? The fact that this guy had cheated on her, they would get back together multiple times. They had all these emotional highs and lows, which is how you develop trauma bonding with the emotional abuse. So her emotions were kind of locked in with this guy, which made me realize, how the heck could she possibly tell me she wants to marry me when deep down she was all the time thinking about that guy? Because she had that trauma. Do you understand that? Guess what? God saved me, clearly, and I dodged another bullet. Guess I should invest in some bulletproof vests, right? Because tell you what, don't want to go through that one again. But I'm just giving you that as an example. If you meet a girl and there's something off with her, or you might be dating a girl and then it doesn't work out, and then you find out she went back to an ex, it's because the emotional attachment that she has with you is nothing, it's worthless. The emotional imprint she has with him is priceless. That's what really has her invested with that guy. Because he changed her life, he shaped her life, he molded her outlook on relationships and faithfulness and integrity and everything. Because he was the guy who gave her that sexual imprint. You cannot compete with that. And I learned that lesson very, very clearly. So that is what I want you to understand, right? That is how an emotional imprint works. It has to be mutual, that genuine desire. Both man and the woman have to have overcome any trauma, any issues from previous relationships, any wounds, any imprints. Okay? You need to be masculine, she needs to be feminine. Ideally, you want to see each other as 9s and 10s. This is my ideal type. This is my ideal type. And then the same core values and belief system, so you can develop a deep emotional connection. And then you will go from, over time, emotional attachment, 3 months, 6 months, okay, get into a relationship, you overcome limerence, you go through that fantasy stage, emotions stabilize, then you can both successfully pair bond, move into genuine love and respect for each other and understanding. And just like that, you both have made an imprint, an impact on each other's lives that is positive, that is designed to keep you glued to each other. That's how it works. So do not get confused between an emotional attachment an emotional imprint. That is how it works. And if you're wondering, well, Christian, how do I tell if I have an emotional imprint or if I'm emotionally attached to a woman? I'll tell you how. If you've recently got dumped by a girl, give yourself 6 months to a year where you're by yourself. And then tell me how you feel. Because if you were just emotionally attached to her, understand, you build an emotional attachment by spending time. How do you lose an emotional attachment to someone? By spending less time. So if you stop spending time around her, you lose the attachment. So you give yourself 6 months to a year, and slowly over time, the attachment will start to fade. And you'll forget about it. Think back to the first girlfriend you had, or the first couple of girls you ever dated. You don't remember their birthdays or any intricate details about their lives. You can't even remember because it was just an attachment. They were with each other, they came into your life, and they left. Okay? So that's an emotional attachment. Also, I can also give you another analogy to break it down. An emotional attachment constantly has to be watered. You constantly have to spend time together. If you stop spending time together, well, it fades away. With an emotional imprint, you can spend no time together. But guess what? That emotional imprint is still there. It's like a video game file you've saved. You don't have to touch it for years. You download the game, you open up the file, and you press play from where you left off, and all the memories come back up. Just like that. The same way with that ex of mine from 2018. She was with me, wanted to spend her life with me, and guess what? She's saying that to me, I'm gone from her life. Who does she go back to? The man who imprinted her. She opened up that video game file, put it back in, and pressed play. And the same emotions were there, just where she left off. Like he had never left. Another example, you can look at it with an emotional attachment. Think of it like this. Ice has to be at a certain temperature to remain in that state. Now, if you take ice out the freezer and you hold it in your hand, especially in today's weather, in the summer, it's going to melt. Right? That's how it is with an emotional attachment. You have to keep that ice in the freezer. It has to stay frozen to keep the attachment. You take it out, it melts, it's gone. Okay, you keep spending time with a girl, you're still attached to her. You stop spending time with her, it stops. It melts away into nothing. But an emotional attachment will always stay. If you get a tattoo, it's going to stay there forever. Unless you go through the expensive procedure to get it removed with laser. Even if you remove it with laser, what happens? Your skin is still going to be somewhat damaged. It's not going to look exactly like it was before. It's been shaped and molded by that tattoo removal. Even though the tattoo is not there, some level of imprint that it left is still there. Do you understand that? So if you give yourself 6 months to a year after a woman has walked out of your life, if you have made no progress healing, more than likely she left a negative imprint on you. Whether she narcissistically abused you, she betrayed you, those things open up wounds that do leave an imprint. Which is why with an emotional attachment, the healing is subconscious, it happens over time. But with an emotional imprint, just giving it time doesn't work. The healing has to be conscious. You have to develop an understanding of what imprinted you and why, having an understanding which gives you closure. And once you accept that and you realize, wow, I was imprinted by her. The fact that she betrayed me impacted my outlook on loyalty. Okay, I need to forgive that and let go. Even though you will never forget the fact that she cheated on you, eventually as time goes on, because you've accepted it, you will slowly let go. And now you will be able to look on that experience and realize, you know what, thanks to the fact she cheated on me, I value loyalty even more. I've not let this damage me, I've let this make me stronger. I value faithfulness. Do you see what I mean? So you can actually use that negative emotional imprint, overcome it, and turn it into something good that adds value to your life. The same way that I gave you the example of my friend Jimmy, who got bitten by a dog, and his dad got him a puppy, he raised the puppy, he spent working on himself and changing, and as he grew up, it shaped his mindset from having that negative imprint of being afraid of dogs to actually loving dogs. Do you understand that? And it's the same way for you when you start your healing process. You identify the trauma, you identify what impacted you, okay, what left the mark on you, and then you work to understand it. You break into the root cause. You get some closure. Then you give yourself time. Then you will see, I've overcome this. Then it's just something in the past. And when you think back on the memory, you don't have any negative feelings or fear, worry, misery, things like that. Now you look back and you think, oh well, that was an experience that shaped me and made me into a much better man. And that's the way you have to see it. So I'm going to definitely do many more videos discussing imprints and attachments. And if you guys enjoyed the explanation, then let me know in the comment section what you think of this. If there's anything you'd like to add, any questions you have, what other video topics would you like me to make? If you're new to the channel, by all means hit the subscribe button and press the notification bell and be notified anytime I upload another video, which right now I'm doing about 2 videos a week. And if you would like to reach out to me privately for a coaching call, or you would like to share your situation privately with me, the email will be down in the description and on the About tab. If you enjoy my content, feel free to share this video and any other with your friends who may need the help. With that said, I'll see you guys in the next one.